Hey friends, I'm Karen. It's May 14th and 73 degrees here in beautiful St. Augustine, and I thought I would take this opportunity to talk to you a little bit about how to start your own garden in your backyard this year from the very beginning, from planning where to plant in your yard, what to plant, and how to plant your first garden from beginning to end. And hopefully, this will inspire you to take the plunge and start your own garden, um, and never look back, just like I did at the very beginning. So, let's dive in. So, first, make a list of your favorite veggies that you like to grow, the ones that you just can't get the same taste that you can get in your backyard growing the juicy sweetness. You just can't get that in the grocery store. Make a list of your most favorite vegetables. Then on that list, decide what you'd like to start growing. Make a list of your top five. Five is doable for a beginning gardener. Even if you don't have five, maybe three, that's a good place to start so it's not too overwhelming for you. And try to make it according to the amount of space that you have, whether it's containers on your back porch here, or as you see in the back, I have planting beds. I make room for different things in the winter for cabbage, things like that in there. I put in between my fruit trees, and I also have a small greenhouse. I also have little raised beds. Whatever you decide your space is that you have available, those are where you're going to put a little map, make a little picture, where you'd like to put those plant beds and about how much space you have. Nothing fancy, just kind of scratch it out on paper. Now you're going to go to USDA website. Just type it in and search, and that's going to tell you that the zone that you're in goes by your first and last frost dates and your average temperatures. So if you put your zip code in there, it'll pop up and tell you what zone you're in. That's going to help you a lot in picking when to plant things and what to plant. After this, go out in your yard and see where the sun rises and sets. Try to find out where north and south is and where you might have a shady spot. As you see, my backyard here is this is west and that is south, and that's what gets most of the sun in the afternoon. The east side gets a little bit of sun in the morning and gets a little break in the afternoon. Those are things you're going to want to note because that's going to matter of where you're going to plant certain things as well. Pay very close attention to where the sun moves in the sky, whatever season that you're in, and see where your shady spots might be. This is something new gardeners don't always take into account. Winter is going to be different than summertime, wherever the sun is in the sky. So, depending on the season. So, it's better to just walk outside now and check out where the sun is in the sky at certain times if you're not sure in your own yard. That's going to help you plan where to put your garden. Here in 9B, this time of year and during the summer, we can get some pretty wicked storms out of the northeast. So I usually try to plant my garden where there's a little more protection on the southwest, southeast sides. That's where I plant my garden. Those spots also get about 5 to 6 hours of sun a day, which is plenty when you're in the south because our sun is so hot. It gives your plants a chance to have a little bit of shade either in the morning, midday, afternoon. It doesn't really matter which time of day it is. So if they get a little bit of shade, as long as they're getting those hours of sun, they're going to do great. Go out and pick seed packets, read the back, see what is good to plant this time of year out of your list. Some of those you might have to wait till fall to plant, but you can usually start with the summer plants. Now it's a little bit tough as far as timing goes and putting seeds in the ground. You could probably plant squash and cucumbers now because they come up, they germinate pretty quickly and they're direct sow, as well as green beans. You could probably still get a few of those to pop up now too, and you'll get a crop before the really oppressive heat starts in the summer. But things like tomatoes, peppers, onions, things like that, you probably want to start with transplants. Go to Lowe's or Home Depot or your local nursery and pick out some nice varieties of those. Get a couple of plants of each. just till you get used to, the care and learning about the particular plants and where they do best and where they're going to thrive in your yard. That's what I did. I took a few plants and I experimented with those, and I started putting them in different parts of my yard and seeing which things did better. So that's a good way to start. Once you learn more about gardening, you'll be able to add to your repertoire quite a bit, and actually it'll probably become an addiction like it did with me. Every time I see seeds, I'm like, oh, let me go see what's in this. I have so many seeds, it's ridiculous. Once you decide where to put your containers or your plant beds, or maybe in the ground, go ahead and buy the seed packs that you can plant now in this season, in this temperature, and make sure you follow the back pretty closely because they're fairly accurate in timing and growth patterns and care and when to plant them and those kind of things. So definitely pay attention to the back of your seed pack. So now you're going to set up your infrastructure, which is your containers, or put your plant beds together, whatever it is you've decided to do, and however, whatever kind of gardening you'd like to do, go ahead and put those together, and we're going to fill them with soil. And the best soil to start with is a potting mixture, maybe 2/3 potting mix soil, and a third your compost. That's going to give you healthy soil, and it's going to be richer than just putting just plain old potting mix in there. At the beginning, you can start with bags because that's probably the easiest, best way to go about it. As your garden gets bigger, you might want to look for alternatives to that because it can get kind of expensive when you're filling a lot of beds. But at the beginning, it's fine. Just start out with garden soil from Lowe's or Home Depot or Ace, and just add some compost to it. And you're going to want to get an all-purpose granular organic fertilizer. It comes in pellets and bags, and mix that in few handfuls in a container. If you're planting in a plant bed, just scatter it around a few handfuls, mix it in with the soil. This is before you're even going to plant anything. You're just giving it a good base where you're going to start your transplant. By balanced fertilizer, I mean an all-purpose granular fertilizer where the NPK numbers, they're on the front of a bag. I'll show you an example. I'll flash it up on the screen here. And the NPK should be 555 or 634 or something close like that, to where it's pretty balanced and you don't have an enormous amount of nitrogen. That's the first number. Because this way you'll be able to use this throughout the season and not just have to use it at the beginning and have to go buy more. And we're trying to make this cost effective too. You also want to get some kind of fish emulsion that's liquid, and you mix about 3 or 4 tablespoons, probably closer to 3 tablespoons, in about 1.5 gallons of water, and probably a container or something like this, like a big, you mix it up in there. And once you plant your transplants and your seeds and everything, you're going to just water it in with that, and that helps start building the soil and this fertilizing pattern that you're going to have through the course of your plants growing. Some seeds you can start in seed trays, but this time of year it's probably better to direct sow because it will get them a jump start and you won't have to worry about transplanting anything. If you do buy transplants from the store instead of seeds, then you're going to go ahead and plant them out and follow the directions by how deep. It'll usually say on the tag how to plant them, and make sure you put a little bit of that granular fertilizer in the planting hole, and then put the actual plant in the planting hole and water it in, and then sprinkle a little more of your granular fertilizer around in your plant bed, or just put a little bit more in the container, water it in with the fish emulsion and water, and then just follow a regular schedule of probably every 2 weeks. I usually use the fish emulsion and water, and then also the granular you can keep up probably every 3 weeks, and that should keep your plants fed enough through the season and keep them healthy in order to thrive and grow. Just be consistent with your fertilization and try to be consistent with your watering. If your plants are outside and you get rain, looks like we're getting a few black clouds moving in here. In Florida, it's very, very unpredictable, the weather. So if it does rain, then you could probably skip watering for a day or so. Put your finger into your soil near your plant and about an inch, about this far up. And if you feel dampness on the end of your finger, the tip, then you don't need to water. If it feels too dry and you really don't feel any dampness by sticking your hand in your finger in there, just go ahead and give it some water. This time of year, things can dry out. Containers, you're going to have to pay attention a little more and keep on it because they dry out much more quickly than in ground or in a raised bed. If you decide to plant some of these with seeds, probably beans, things like that, then you're going to plant them about an inch. Just poke your hand in there into the soil and about an inch down and plop the seed in there, cover it up, and just make sure you keep it well watered until it germinates, about 7 to 10 days. Usually the bean family, some it kind of varies, but that's going to be your average when that pops up. You can keep them covered with some kind of little netting or plastic with holes, just to make sure they get light and no little varmints or bugs attack them when they're super small. Little seedlings, they're almost irresistible to some of the creatures and the slugs and things like that. Then you could keep them covered until they're about 4 inches high, and then you can uncover them. Just make sure it's something that allows light in. That's what I do with mine, especially this time of year. If I plant anything with seed, I cover it up. I have the strawberry and berry, those clear plastic containers that they come in. I wash those and I turn them upside down. They make the perfect dome till they get to be a certain height, and then I take those off. So it gives them a little bit of a head start. So bugs can't munch them before they get big enough to be able to withstand some of that. Just remember, here in Florida, if you're in the South, the growing season is good in spring, early spring. As it gets warmer, it gets a little tougher. Try to look for varieties for warm weather, especially in your spring season, because those are going to be the ones that, as you work into the warm weather, they're going to be able to survive a little better and thrive a little more and take the heat and the humidity a little better. And you can usually just Google that or get on seed sites, and they'll give you a description of the things that are really good in Florida, or warm weather, as opposed to just your normal heirloom varieties. The heirloom varieties are great if you're up north and you have like normal summer and it's not super oppressive heat like it can be down here. Sometimes you can basically get away with the heirloom varieties. I usually suggest here in the South, if you can get a hold of some of the hybrid varieties that they've developed especially to handle our kind of weather and resist mildew and mold and certain kinds of bugs and some of the heat. Those are good ones to look for as you get into it more. But I think if you're just starting out, it would be better to just go to some of the big box stores and pick yourself up some plants, some tomato plants, maybe a couple of pepper plants, things like that, just to try to get started and not get discouraged if you put seeds in and they don't germinate. That can be kind of discouraging. But even if that happens, don't give up, because gardening is trial and error. We all fail. We all have good and bad times as far as things we plant. I've had some big busts, and I'm like, well, I'm not planting this again. I'm going to start over next season, and I'm going to plant a different kind. And I try different varieties and experiment. So if you've been gardening for any period of time, you are going to have failures. So just remember, trudge on. But when you do have those successes, it is super awesome, and it's exciting to pick your own produce in your own yard, out of your own garden, and there's no other feeling like it. And look for other gardeners with a little more experience and knowledge that you can learn from. I did that myself. I learned from my dad. He had a garden, but I also followed people on YouTube that knew a lot more about gardening at the beginning than I did, and it was helpful, it was encouraging. They answered questions about different varieties I might have had, or what seasons, and what is this bug on this thing that looks like a dinosaur. It was very helpful to follow other people and other gardeners, and it kind of made me feel part of the group too, which is nice and encouraging, especially at the beginning. So here in Northeast Florida, I try to have everything harvested from my garden by June 1st. I usually take the summer months off, the hottest months of the summer, because it is tougher to grow and there's so much tremendous pest pressure that that's usually the time I take off. And when I start planting again is usually late August, when I start planting my seeds for the fall season, and growing through the winter, and that is the best, absolute most terrific time to grow here. I'll be doing some episodes and guiding you as far as when to start that process and maybe what seeds and what varieties to try. So follow me if you'd like more information about that. And when we get closer to August and September, I'll be doing those kind of informational videos. I hope you found this video helpful and hopefully found a little inspiration to start your own garden this year. Thank you for joining me, and until next time, go out and make yourself a great day.